Namaskar, welcome back. Viewers, every time there is a dastardly terror attack on Indian soil sponsored by our neighbor Pakistan, Pakistan establishment goes into denial and they start claiming that they have nothing to do with the terrorists, it is all homegrown, etc. Just like various other attacks as in Pulwama, Mumbai, etc., the same toolkit was adopted when India conducted the Balakot strike following the dastardly attack on our CRPF personnel in Pulwama. Just like every other time, Pakistan claimed India had not been able to inflict any damage on their soil, even laughably claiming that just a few crows and trees had been damaged. However, our army, our air force gave very precise photographs which made it very clear that the entire terror infrastructure in that area in Balakot had been severely demolished. Later, Pakistan tried a cover-up. All of this, which has been reported in snatches from that side of the border, has now been brought together in a fascinating, a riveting book by well-known author and journalist Francesca Marino, who risked her life several times in Pakistan in order to establish and to tell the world how Pakistan establishment is clearly sponsoring and is the brain behind all terror in this subcontinent. We are happy to have Francesca with us this weekend, even as her latest book, Balakot, is scheduled to release very soon. Welcome, Francesca. Namaskar.
Thank you for having me.
And we'll begin with Balakot. Francesca, since your book is titled Balakot, and you have given very graphic details about how much damage was caused to the Jaish-e-Mohammed training, the terror facility, at least 150 or perhaps 170 terrorists must have been killed in that Balakot strike. Even then, Pakistan kept claiming, and even showing misleading photographs that it was just a few trees that were damaged.
Yeah, that was actually, they sent there Hamid Mir, which is a quite famous journalist in Pakistan. So an authoritative voice to tell the world that no, just few crows and trees were hit. The truth is different. You might remember at that time, I had found an eyewitness, somebody who was actually in the camp when that happened and survived. So the first time we spoke, he had told me, I told him, just tell me what you have seen personally. I don't want to, because, it was sensitive and in that moment was a big issue. So I said, you just tell me what you have seen. In that first moment, he told me he had seen personally, with his eyes, 35 bodies being carried away, dead. He gave me the names of 2-3 people. One was a former ISI colonel, which had been killed on the spot. And he assessed more or less the amount of damage. Keeping in mind, it was dark, it was middle of the night, the lights went off, and was a mess. Days later, then, he told me what had happened later. The army reached there around 6 o'clock at morning. They started immediately to take away wounded people and dead bodies.
So Francesca, are you saying that immediately after the strike, the Pakistani army came there in order to, remove those signs of damage and try to cover up?
Yes, they did. They took the wounded and the dead bodies to an army camp couple of kilometers away. Not only that, treated in army camps the families, the families of the dead were immediately rewarded and told not to say a word.
Right.
They went giving money to the families just to keep them quiet. Then the other thing that happened was that trucks arrived, clearing the debris which were thrown into a river, and a part of this were used to build up again a kind of shelter and to repair the damaged buildings.
This must be the Kunar River, which flows beside Balakot.
Yes, they used the old debris. So when 45 days later they took the delegation of international press and diplomats, they said nothing looks new. That's the reason why nothing looks new, because they used the old stuff which had been destroyed.
Viewers, before we can carry on this remarkable conversation, I just want to remind you all that a very big delegation of, with journalists from foreign agencies, and later even a team of diplomats was taken there to Balakot, and the Pakistani army, as well as some of those people, claimed that they could not see any visible damage and things were appearing to be normal. But this book by Francesca Marino tells us in very graphic detail what kind of a cover-up was done. Let's ask her about all that.
This site that has been shown to journalists and diplomats was the madrasa.
Okay.
Which was never intended to be the target to start with. So the other thing is, even of the madrasa and the hall, I have previous pictures. I have pictures given to me by this person, and in those pictures you can clearly see signs of Jaish-e-Mohammed everywhere. You can clearly see armed people. The same place, a few months later, becomes a madrasa, all whitewashed, with children inside. But anyway, that was never meant to be the target. The part that has been hit was the part that has not been, of course, shown
to the visitors.
To the visitors, where the places where the trainees were sleeping, and where also their trainers were staying. That part, the part that has been shown, was never meant to be the target, was not the target. As Air Chief Marshal Danoa told me, we had no intention to hit a masjid or a madrasa. My goal was to hit terrorists. And it is what I've done.
If we come to the terror facility, of course, as the then Air Chief Marshal, B.S. Dhanwa told you, India never intended to hit any civilians in Pakistan or any other settlement except those facilities. And that too, as we have seen in photographs released by our forces, they were very precision strikes. The whole world has known that, our missiles hit them directly at the place where the terror network was supposed to be functioning. But in your assessment through the eyewitness accounts and the before and after photographs that you have compared, what do you think was the extent of damage at Balakot on that night?
See, as again, Air Chief Marshal Danoa explained to me, the bombs that were used were Spice 2000, very particular bombs. They hit, but they don't explode at the first contact. So the ceilings that were intact except for a hole.
Yes.
They explode in the cavity, in the floor, on the floor, meaning what he was telling me was my goal was not to destroy buildings. I did not destroy buildings. My goal was to kill terrorists.
Francesca, you have also written, and I found it, very interesting and also, I mean, very dubious on the part of Pakistan, that they not only quickly covered up whatever damage was done at the terror camp of the Jaish-e-Mohammed, but even all the surrounding villages, wherever there were boards of the terror network, wherever it showed that this is the way to the terror facility,
Yes.
etc., all those signs and all the boards, etc., were all removed just in
Immediately.
case some visitor manages to see them.
See, yes, all the boards on the path leading to that madrasa for children, which is actually 1.5 hours walk away from any village, so is on the top of a hill, in the middle of nowhere. Just this would make you think, why would you set a madrasa for children on the top of a hill in the middle of nowhere? While at the beginning there were signboards indicating Jaish-e-Mohammed and so on, had been quickly removed. Because the local correspondent of all the international news agencies had been sent there. The only thing they could do was going around assessing how the place looked like and talking to villagers. Of course, people are scared. Of course, nobody wants to have anything to do with the army or with ISI. So what they said was, no, there was nothing, just few trees hit and so on. Some of the correspondents have been shown a crater where the supposed Indian bombs had hit, meaning in the middle of nowhere. But thing is, those bombs used would not leave that kind of crater. They would leave a hole, not, a crater like that. So most probably it was done on purpose to show the missed hit. And the other thing is there were no spare part of any bomb.
Right.
Bombs don't disappear.
So you are saying that the places from the spots from which these correspondents were reporting, claiming there has been no damage, were actually far from the site where the attack actually took place. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, because, in the beginning they said no planes entered Pakistan.
Yes.
Then they said, yes, they came, but they were engaged in a fight and they went back. Then they said, yes, they came, they hit, they missed the target, where the target was a madrasa for children, because there are no terrorist camps there. So yes, they showed some random crater in some random place in the neighborhood.
Let us move away from Balakot to other issues which have been dealt with not only in her book, but have been the cause of a lot of discussion over the past few years. Francesca, very clearly, from your very first book, which came out many years ago, Apocalypse, we are seeing how you have been trying to prove point by point with your own fieldwork about the manner in which Pakistan is not only the nursery of terror, but the entire Pakistani establishment has been engaged in setting up these terror networks, funding them, helping them, and there are serving and former Pakistani army officers who are found to be engaged in these terror camps, whether in training or other things, not to speak of the radicalization. I know that your book is full of details about this whole connection of the network. But for our viewers, please tell us briefly how you have been able to establish this fact.
See, is not a secret, it's an open secret.
Yes.
And it is you don't need intelligence to assess this fact. Is an open secret. Intelligence of practically all the countries in the world know. Years ago, I even remember a British think tank which published a report advocating for ISI dismantle and calling them the biggest terrorist organization in the world, which they are, because they manage with the greatest impunity all these terror groups, and you know, the ability is also because you you would think, no, this group has this ideology, this one will go against. No, they just make them play together, or one against the other, according to the convenience of the moment. CTTP, which is in the news recently.
Which is so much in news these days.
Yes.
For repeated attacks.
Yeah, but they are trying to make people forget that TTP has been created in Pakistan.
Correct.
It's been created in Pakistan to help Taliban or to go against some other piece of the state to keep them in check.
Okay, so just curious here, you know, how does playing one terror group against another, as you just said, help Pakistan in the overall narrative?
See, Pakistan has only one strategic utility, which they are very conscious of. They create the problem and they sell the solution. And because the problem is so big, nobody can afford to ignore them. I mean, they sheltered bin Laden, see what he did. They sheltered all Al-Qaeda. They are sending Jaish and other groups against India, but not only, because you can find fighters from Lashkar-e-Toiba, from Jaish and other groups. They have been fighting even in Bosnia.
Is that so?
Yeah, so
so terrorists trained in Pakistan are going to fight as far as Africa, is what you are saying?
Yeah, I mean, and vice versa. Before Pahalgam, few days before, 4 top members of Hamas were on stage in Bahawalpur, where, according to Pakistan, there are no terrorist camps. They were in Bahawalpur with top members of Jaish-e-Mohammed. On stage, they have been gifted horses and swords. And yes, and of course, this kind of meetings cannot happen without the blessing of ISI.
Of course, any foreigner coming to a country cannot do it quietly.
Which is very much there.
And it will interest you to know, Francesca, that we here on Media Scan, we did a special episode on this about how well-known Hamas trainers and people from the top line leadership of the Hamas had come to Rawalakot, very close to the POK, the line of control, and they addressed a gathering there. And as you said,
Yes.
they were given valuable gifts, etc. But before I come back to Pahalgam, I want to understand from you, you must have followed, the recent stories, what's happening in the US and worldwide. Despite the whole world knowing very well what Pakistan is up to, somehow the geopolitical scenario is such that Pakistan not only manages to get away with it, but people often come to help Pakistan, even though they know that it is the nerve center, the epicenter of all terror.
See,
So how does that work?
See, what I notice is that strangely, each time Pakistan has to push with the usual narrative, which is always the same. We are the first victim of terror. We need help, meaning money, weapons, and whatever else, to defeat terrorist groups. Strangely enough, each time they are again on the warpath, TTP increases his attacks. So see, the other thing recently, and this, according to me, is really unforgivable. Asim Munir has been going to US, but not only, carrying a little suitcase showing samples of rare minerals.
Yes, yes.
So Donald Trump got excited about it, and somebody must have told him the minerals are in Balochistan, and Balochistan is a mess. So what he did, he confirmed BLA to be an international terror group, and
Yes,
just
yes.
to be on the safe side, he added Majid Brigade. Now, first of all, strategically, labeling an international terrorist group, the only group in the area which actually has not an international agenda, is not jihadi, cannot care less for any international development. The only thing they want is to free their land, which has been illegally occupied. So Pakistan has been given a clean sheet to kill more Baloch in the name of rare minerals and development.
Francesca, I will have to cut you short here briefly because we have very little time left. And I really want to come to Pahalgam. You have written as a postscript to your book that the book was planned to cover all the reporting you had done over Balakot. But before the book could go to the printer, other events took over.
Yes.
And this dastardly Pahalgam attack happened, where people were singled out for their faith and killed in cold blood in the Baisaran Valley. And then India conducted Operation Sindoor to make it clear that any terror attack will be dealt with as an act of war. Quickly, your take on this Pahalgam and Operation Sindoor situation.
Yeah, going back to Hamas. It was the first time they target civilians deliberately.
Yes.
The first time the attack has been carried on religious base. And the first time also that the claiming of the terrorist group were following exactly the same narrative used by Hamas after 7th of October.
Right.
They are not civilians. There are not civilians because they are settlers and colonizers.
So you are saying that the Pahalgam attack was done as per the directions of the Hamas leaders, the Hamas terrorists who came to Pakistan a little before the
I don't think so,
attack, no?
but I think, okay, years ago, I remember Imran Khan is one of his famous slip of tongue saying that they had trained Hamas and so on, but leave this alone. I think they just tried to follow the narrative which was taking over all over the West, yes, to get in that stream so they would not be sanctioned for killing civilians.
Right.
Because,
that sort of, adds up the whole thing. But before we wind up this, such an interesting conversation, Francesca, I am fascinated by the fact that in the course of your reporting in Pakistan, you were not only harassed and targeted, you were actually in illegal detention of the Pakistani establishment, and your embassy, your government had really to intervene very strongly so that they would let you go. And since then, you have been hounded by the Pakistan establishment for telling the world the way they are, completely entrenched with the terror network. Tell us very quickly about that.
Yeah,
how you were targeted and hounded by Pakistan.
I've been always welcomed till at a point I started to be very vocal about Baloch and the genocide that was going over there, about Pashtun also, and I refused once or twice to endorse the lies that a gentleman called Tramboo, who was the director of a Kashmir center financed by ISI, was
in
peddling
London.
In Brussels and in Geneva
Brussels.
at UN and at European Commission. So he told me once, just before this happened, yeah, but you know, somebody could even think you are an Indian spy.
Okay.
And this thing of the Indian spy has been carried just because I wear a sari. So this is an undeniable proof.
Francesca, allow me at this moment to compliment you. You look stunning in the sari. But finally, just a quick question on one point. Since you mentioned Tramboo of the think tank in Brussels, it is ironical that while you have been hounded by the Pakistani establishment for speaking and showing the world their real face, it is also paradoxical that there is a section of journalists of the media in India who were not ready to, follow your stories, and they actually called it a lie or somehow planted, which is very sad because it was India that was attacked and we had to retaliate. So there is a segment in our own country who have also been targeting you for speaking the truth about Pakistan.
Yeah, and I always said, beside the personal attacks, and then, the funniest thing is nobody has been ever able to counter my facts, are not being countered on facts on both sides, but just called a liar, a paid journalist, by the way, who, I don't know anyone
who
of
is
them.
An unpaid journalist.
Yes, who's an unpaid journalist. But the thing is, I take this, and I've always taken this, as a sign, another one, that what I keep saying, whatever, India is a democracy. There's an opposition, the opposition is vocal, healthy, the debate is healthy. Yes, insults are not really a debate, but still, this cannot happen in Pakistan, because in Pakistan, if you are vocal and you contest whatever the government says or does, you have to run away, or you are in prison, or you are killed.
Absolutely. And Francesca, we wish you more power so you are able to work despite all the constraints and threats that you face to bring out the reality with that third eye, the observer's eye, which people living here may or may not have, but you, as an international journalist of repute, can tell the world the realities of this subcontinent. But I am afraid, viewers, we have to bring this fascinating conversation to an end. All of you must read the book Balakot to know not only what happened in the Balakot strike, but also how Pakistan has become the hub of terror for decades, whether the world likes to hear it or not. On that note, it's a wind up on Media Scan for this weekend. Do join us next weekend. Till then, namaskar.